Coming to the stage next, we're going to have Silvio Micali, Turing Award winner and founder of Algorand, and Maja Vujinovic, former GE CIO and founder of OGroup LLC. Please help me welcome to the stage.
All right, good morning.
Good morning.
That was weak. Good morning. There we go. All right. Well, I am very honored to be here. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Carl. I can't see him. I see Paul. I can't see everybody else. My name is Maja Vujinovic. I've been in Bitcoin since 2010, 2013. I kind of officially came in, acquired a first bank for Tether, and never left the space. Although in between I took a real job at GE. I was the youngest CIO at GE, where I ran all their machine learning and cyber development and then brought them blockchain. So it's a real honor today from somebody who's been one of the first investors in ZK really early to interview a legend, Silvio Micali. And this is a man who didn't just join a revolution. Nothing wrong with those of you that came in late, but this is a man who helped really shape the source code. And Silvio is an award-winning cryptographer, Alan Turing award-winning cryptographer. So today we'll jump into some questions, and we'll start with first one, which is, what really, Silvio, drew you to trustless systems? I think today we use that word very easily, but I think when you started in this, nobody looked at it. So what really drew you to that space?
Thank you, Maja. Good morning to you all. So first of all, I'd like to contend the word trustless. Perhaps you mean that is algorithmic trust. And I really believe that if properly construed, properly architected, secure protocols would have been much more secure than any other system that is developed on personal trust and personal authority. So I really believe that the technology would bring us there. So in my opinion, we are not trustless. Algorithmic trust, properly architected, is the best trust there is. Trustless is not the name I would choose.
So when you look at it from that perspective, what year was that when you started looking at this?
When dinosaurs roamed the earth. I mean, it's about, I would say, 1979.
Okay, wow.
At that point, there was no science of secure protocols, so we had to start developing from scratch.
And was that secure was there a reason for you to develop those secure protocols?
Because, yes, because anytime, I really had this vision that if you had a secure protocol, you can interact with the entire world in a very massive scale and a much more secure way. But you needed to develop a lot of math and a lot of cryptography in order to make this secure protocol really secure.
Okay, so let's talk about ZK, zero knowledge proofs. How did that work really shape your thought process and work in decentralization? So, and could you explain to everybody first on technology a little bit on ZK?
Okay, let me start from why ZK. So, what is a protocol? Let's start from the very beginning. An algorithm, you know what it is, right? And anybody who has coded anything is very hard to code, and it's very hard to do an algorithm right. A protocol is an algorithm run by you and another party or more parties, some of which are malicious, and they want to derail the very algorithm that is jointly run. Much harder to code, much harder to architect. And so anytime you have really an adversary among you, guess what? Your intuition is the less an adversary knows, the less chance he has to disrupt what you're doing. So the notion of zero knowledge means that let's make things private that diminish what the adversary knows. But let me be a bit more technical, if I may, in a short.
Yes, please.
When you are in a protocol, it's not you. Nobody sees your face What they know is makes you you is you have unique knowledge of a unique secret key. If you don't use your secret key, the secret key is secret. But if you use your secret key, if you send a message that depends on the secret key, then this message carries a little bit information about your secret key because you computed this message thanks to your secret key. So it does not have the secret key put in the forehead, but is some information embedded into it. So originally, when I start thinking, you say, well, let's try to figure out how much information the secret key is. And then if you use more, can you compile an adversary, a piece of there, and reconstruct later your secret key? For how long should you use it? So at this point, it became very complicated to think about it. So as an act of desperation, Maja, I felt, what about if we develop a zero-knowledge system, that zero information can provably be leaked about your secret key? Wouldn't be things much easier? And sometimes when you hope for paradise, you can actually achieve a paradise on Earth. And so this zero knowledge was, we stumbled on it, and we were lucky to figure out how to achieve it so that there is no way that a secret key can be leaked and that the systems can actually be secure. And somehow zero knowledge is really important when you compute in a decentralized way, because otherwise your only secrecy, your only power is your secret key. If your secret key is leaked, you are done. So that zero knowledge is, in my opinion, fundamental for this stuff, and has been actually adopted in these systems.
Yeah, we'll talk about adoption a little bit later, but I want to double click on the decentralization. How do you think of decentralization, and why is it important for governance and trust?
So let's put away governance, okay? Governance needs technology. You may not think about it, but it's really true. If you lack technology, how do you want to govern? The only form of efficient government is dictatorship, okay? And that's what we had from time immemorial at the very beginning. Okay, but even then, when the Roman Republic, everybody came to Rome to vote on a certain particular day of the year, you needed infrastructure, you need roads, you need food to find on the way, you need technology even to come to a vote. So it has been true ever since. Now that we want to think about governance, that we all can participate in governance, you need more and more technology. So governance is really needed on technology. What was, Maja, you said?
The trust.
The trust. So you must have a system that actually is foolproof so that people can use it with confidence, and then you can abide by the governance that you participated in and you believe in it. So you really need trust, and in my opinion, it's algorithmic trust.
So I'm pretty sure a lot of people in the audience wonder, as I did early on, don't we have some form of trust today? Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to develop industrial and society.
Yes, we have some form, but we need more, okay? You are not going to ask a technology. We have enough technology in the world. No, there is room and need for more technology.
Okay, great. All right, so now something we debated about backstage, which is mainstream adoption of blockchain. Okay, where does that stand now, and why haven't we seen this mainstream adoption? Is it the political reasons? Is it that some folks like to have cash and don't like to see the traceability? Why haven't we seen the mainstream adoption? So
the different mind can say different things. So first of all, it is a fact that there has been a very limited adoption, right? The blockchain is a fantastic technology. Smart contracts is a fantastic idea. And we can actually really serve the assets of the world. But the assets of the world are not on chain. You know what is on chain is Bitcoin, which is a great asset on itself. Then you add another $1 billion that some financial institutions have put just to play around, drop in the bucket, right? 99, if you want to be generous, 0.5 of the assets of the world are outside the chain. What prevents it? And there are actually, one thing is that the regulation, you know, in a blockchain, you have to post a transaction. And you have to pay a little payment, which is a little bit of the cryptocurrency underlying that blockchain. And so if you are a regulated entity with a lot of assets, but you cannot post a transaction because you cannot touch by regulation the cryptocurrency, how can you play on a blockchain, right? Is 101. It's really eradicated from the beginning. And then there is a second reason, Maja. So I believe that as humans, we don't have a responsibility beyond what we can caress with our hands. Our kids, our grandkids, our grand-grandkids at some point becomes very nebulous. But institutions, they have a much larger horizon. 100 years, 200 years, the human forever, right? A few hundred years. More than that, we cannot hope for. But blockchains right now, the security of it, the only way we know to make security up to date has been through merging consensus with a particular cryptocurrencies, right? So that the proof of stake makes consensus secure. But if the cryptocurrencies loses value, the blockchain is not insecure anymore. So if you are an institution and you say, do I want to move in blockchain? Do this mental experiment yourself. Choose your favorite blockchain. Done? Okay. Think about the cryptocurrency. You know very well because every blockchain has a cryptocurrency. Choose that cryptocurrency. And then ask yourself, in 2125, what is the value of that token? Can you say how much it is? Well, if you cannot say it's way above zero, institutions are not come. Why? Because they have a longer horizon than a speculator. They want to have security for 100 years, 200 years. Can you blame them? At the end, no. So regulation and then security in the very long term, the human forever, are needed for the most of the assets of the world to go on chain.
Thank you for that. That was insightful. Okay, another topic that that I think is really important and everybody's currently talking about is stablecoins. Okay, and stablecoin settlement. We in 2015 or 16, I launched the first trade finance deal between GE and JP Morgan on blockchain just to test it. And there was, to your point, massive resistance because of, number one, security, and number two, they didn't know how things will play out. Today, we're seeing the very similar things in stablecoins. There was a slow adoption, and now you're seeing more buzz around this. And almost certain banks are developing their own stablecoins, and then you've got the 2-3 large players. What role do they play right now? Do you think it's useful? We talked about efficiency backstage. Could you tell me a little bit more about how you think about stablecoin settlement?
Well, first of all, it's hard to blame somebody that want to be paid right in stablecoin because people they want to know how much they're going to be paid, what the value is, right? At least for the next week or so or months, right? So that is hard to blame. So you want to have something that is somehow as a stable value, like in fiat currency, but expressed in the blockchain. So the way it is actually implemented right now is implemented in very centralized way. So you can have your stable coin, but somebody can freeze the stable coin. And this need for freezing comes a lot for the general security of the chain. Make your chain more secure, and the need for freezing becomes much less. But in particular, I believe that the stable coin right now is not enough stablecoin because stablecoin will come when the assets will go on chain. So the assets of the world are trillions or trillions and trillions, hundreds of trillions. If you want to trade these assets, because assets want to be bought and sold, then you need, they are on chain, stablecoin. We need to have this volume of a transaction of the real assets of the world. You need many more stablecoins. So build the chain that is secure enough in the long term, there's no regulatory problem, that allows the assets of the world to go on chain, and you'll see an explosion of the usage and deployment of stablecoins.
So I take it you're the person that believes that we don't have enough of stablecoins, because currently in the...
But, we have as much as we need because we have very little to trade right now, right?
Yeah, because you will hear a lot of people argue back and forth and say, oh, do I need to invest? We get pitched all the time a new stablecoin. Do we need another stablecoin, right? And do you think that in the next, let's say, 10, 20, 30 years, there will be, what, a handful of stablecoins, or do you think it will surpass the amount of banks that we have today?
So I really believe that the blockchain is the best market, okay? Is transparent, is final, nobody can rig it, nobody can freeze your asset, nobody can take your asset. It's a wonderful space to be, and therefore, I really believe that a stablecoin will come to power this market, okay? So I really believe that there is going to be a multiplicity of sources, and there are going to be a great user for stablecoin. I'm very bullish about stablecoin.
Great. Fiat chain. Okay. I think a couple of months ago you spoke in Paris about fiat chain. If you can explain to everybody what fiat chain is and why did you actually develop it?
Okay. So I made this analysis, right, that says why having developed all of us this wonderful blockchain technology, this wonderful idea of a smart contract that self-executed themselves, whenever the right conditions happen, why has not been we have not really realized at a much higher level the benefits of all this technology. And I come out with this regulation and this long-term security. No blockchain as we architected so far can guarantee that in 100 years, 200 years is going to be secure. And I decided, well, I'm a technologist, what I'm going to do? Either I complain or I develop a better technology. So I thought about developing another technology. I don't know how to call it properly, but decided to call it the fiat chain, just to emphasize that for the first time, now you have a blockchain that you can launch your stable coin, you can launch your own private coin, you can launch a cryptocurrency, but the consensus is decoupled, the security of the consensus, from the vagaries of the volatility of a cryptocurrency. You don't need a cryptocurrency to secure consensus. And then, therefore, you have, for the first time, a self-stable, stabilizing forever, the human forever blockchain. So that's what fiat chain is a public chain. I don't believe and don't believe yourself in private chains. They are not a good idea. But public chain it is a great idea. Everybody can participate, anybody can join consensus. So it's a public chain whose consensus no longer depends on a particular cryptocurrency. And is a blockchain that actually is self-stabilizing forever. In essence, that's what it is.
Thank you. How can fiat chain really help in stablecoins? Could you explain a bit of a differentiation?
Okay, is a two-hop explanation. So get what I said. The fiat chain is a fiat chain that does not need cryptocurrency for consensus. So if that is the case, and you want to deploy an asset and transact this asset on the chain, you don't need cryptocurrency to transact, okay? Okay, so then now you have no excuses anymore that prevented you from coming on chain to put an asset on chain. If you put an asset on chain, assets, what do we want to do? They want to change hands. They want to be traded. But if the asset is on chain and they want to be traded, then that creates the demand for stablecoin, way above the demand that we are experiencing right now. And so I think that is going to be the connection.
Great. I think we have 1 or 2 more minutes left, and I want to ask you, we talked earlier, and I told you I'll ask you this question that was off the page, but you told me that a lot of times it's not in the interest of banks and many other people to be on chain and to have things that are on blockchain. So in your mind, if you had an opportunity to create a trustless system, how would it actually look like?
Well, somehow my beliefs is reflected in my work. So my latest, if you ask me right now, I would architected this chain that is really public and thing and has no security problem and doesn't depend on cryptocurrency, you can use it to launch a cryptocurrency, but that is independent of the security of the system. That is important. So I think it would be that. By the way, people don't want to go on chain. If you are going to make a lot of money in secret, in a centralized way, you don't want to be on chain. But that is not about them, it's about us. If we somehow build and join and somebody else says, you know what, that has not invested interest from the beginning to start doing real financial applications, real transparent trading with an open order book, right? So that you know when you say, I want to ask to buy 100 shares of X, and you say, that's your price, you know your price is right because you can see what people are offering on the chain. These people have no choice but either to join or fail. And by the way, if they join, they can still make money because even opaque system and trading systems, they have a lot of expenses. They have a lot of insurance. If you to pay for, right, to insure themselves. So if the blockchain takes care of the security of this, and there is all this need of these extra expenses disappears, it can actually be more profitable even for these people, and certainly is going to be way better for us because of the transaction fees are going to be much more reasonable, whatever is needed by the network, rather than somebody dictated from this huge inefficiency that there is out there.
Thank you. And one last one, fun one. What do you do for fun besides math?
If I knew something more fun than math, I would do it.
Thank you very much, Silvio. Thank you.